Ladies and gentlemen, I hope everyone's having a fantastic day. Of course, welcome back to the Kraken Wrestling. Of course, today our guest is the Square of the Circle champion, women's champion, Cece Young. Cece, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great coming off the high of Christmas, so
Oh yeah,
it's a good
it
day.
it is. So of course, my one question I do have for you to start us off was, as a female in wrestling, and that as a sport that was dominated by male wrestlers, what inspired you to pursue this career?
So I started off as a fan, just like most people that are wrestlers. I got into it when I was 14, and my dad was like watching Raw on TV. I just kind of came by one day, and I was into whatever was going on, and then it just kind of stuck from there. Um, so I mean, as a female, like my track to like getting into it wasn't much different than the guys, I guess.
Okay, yeah, because of course that was my next one was, do you see like the opportunities over time, have they gotten better for, I guess, female wrestlers inside the company, indies, and then
Yeah. Definitely like on the big shows like WWE, AEW, you see so much more women's wrestling. Because when I first
hmm
started watching wrestling, the women's matches were like maybe 5 minutes, maybe like a 5 minute segment. So I didn't get to see a whole lot of women's wrestling, and there wasn't like a lot of showcasing of what the girls could do. And so it's been such a drastic change looking here 10, 14 years later.
yeah, as a viewer myself, I will say the women's wrestling has become a focal point in at least the last 3 years.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
And I truly enjoy seeing it as well because there's so many talented women out there in the wrestling world.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So what's some of your biggest accomplishments that you've had in pro wrestling so far? And when did you get into it? Of course, I know you said you started watching it 14 years ago, but when did you actually start wrestling?
So I have only been working for about 2 years now, a little over 2 years. I started in October of 22. I started training in February of 22 and I debuted in October. But I have like a lot to be proud of just in 2 years. So it's been really cool just to see like how fast things have really got going. Like I already won a few championships like Squared Circle. Um, I've gotten to my debut match. I got to Earl Hebner counted my 3 count.
Oh wow.
Yeah, Victoria was there during it, so she like came in the ring. So I've gotten like some pretty cool stuff that's already happened, and it's only been 2 years in. So really looking forward to, keeping on going and seeing what's gonna happen next.
Especially getting be in the ring with Earl and Victoria, it's a big like monumental moment, especially
Oh
just in
yeah,
2 years.
oh yeah, it was pretty big. It was awesome.
So with wrestling, do you have aspirations to eventually make it, TNA, AEW, WWE? Oh, so in like 5 years, so your future, what are you looking at there?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have like a timeline necessarily on anything, but yeah, that's definitely the goal to wrestle for these bigger companies like TNA, AEW, WWE. I think that's like pretty much every wrestler's goal is to make it to these big places, to make it on TV, to make it where all these people see you, do what you love, and making a career out of what you love.
Yeah, because I can imagine, starting where you have 2 years, you've had those accomplishments, and getting to the big stage of it, that would be something you would want to do long term.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
So with you only being in it for 2 years, your first match, do you happen to remember that and any of the emotions that you had walking into that day and into the ring?
Oh yeah. So my first match was at a Comic Con in Fayetteville for Next Level Pro Wrestling. Um, I knew like I had already my debut date was like set for like a couple months, so I knew like when it was. It wasn't like a hey kid, you got your gear today kind of deal. I knew when it was. So I had lots of time to kind of like mentally prepare, but like there was really no way to actually mentally prepare, to what it really was. So yeah, I was insanely nervous that entire day, week, whatever, going up to it. Um, and I remember like just go. I didn't know what to expect really. I mean, my biggest thing is like I don't wanna mess up. I wanna like do good, but like you really don't know what to expect feeling wise. And I had like a friend give me that he was just like, just make sure you live in the moment. Like you're never gonna experience your first match ever again. Just like really, really soak it in, and you know. make sure you're like feeling all the emotions. Don't just like go through it just to get in and get out, you know? So I tried to do that in my first match, just really like soaking in the crowd when you first come through the curtains. So yeah, it was a pretty awesome moment that, it's really hard to describe.
Oh yeah, I mean I guarantee it is because of course unless you have that experience, you'll never be able to truly
Right.
understand the feeling.
Right. Yeah.
So I know you was talking about Victoria. Has there been any other women in wrestling that influenced you on how you see yourself in the ring, your wrestling style?
Yeah, a lot of who I kind of take inspiration from. Britt Baker was a big inspiration for me getting into actually starting
Mhm.
wrestling. Chelsea Green's a big one for me. A lot of my character work is kind of based off of her. Um, AJ Lee was the first woman that I like grew up watching and like really, really loved. I was like, oh
Mhm.
wait, I love this girl. She's great. So those are probably the big three to where I take inspiration from.
Okay, you said a lot of your in-ring work you kind of do off of Chelsea Green, how
Yeah.
she is in the ring, her presentation.
Yeah. More so just like the character presentation work, yeah.
Okay, yeah, Chelsea Green, she's came a long way,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
and I'm glad. Honestly, I'm glad they made her the first inaugural Women's United States champion.
Yeah. It's a super cool moment. I was really happy for that too.
Oh yeah. So I do got a hot seat question for you. Of course, I think you might have already answered it, but give me your top three women's wrestlers of all time.
Oh. Yeah, I think I did probably already answer it. Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe definitely Britt because it was she was a big reason for me getting into wrestling. AJ Lee is definitely a second one too. I'm trying to think third. It might not be Chelsea. Um, trying to think when I first started watching who was like really Paige maybe, Soraya. And she might be my third. I really like her. I really liked her when I first started getting into wrestling as well.
So, so Paige. So that was more the PG era of
Yeah.
wrestling. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a good era of wrestling, especially for people in that time that was growing up watching it. Because I know some people, they watch Attitude Era, then PG, and now we're in I think they call it like the Victorian era. I think is where we're at. I have
Don't
no
know.
idea.
No clue.
So when it comes to wrestling overall, is there anything about it that you enjoy the least?
Uh, being on the indies, probably the like being long car rides. Like car rides are nice, they're fun, but like the consistency of it every weekend sometimes gets really exhausting. Just being on the road so much over the weekends, because like most of us don't like this is not our what pays the bills job. Like I have a job during the week that I work full time. Um, so sometimes it can be exhausting just to like have a full work week and then like be driving all weekend to get to shows wherever. So, probably the drives. I always say if I had a superpower, it'd be teleportation. That's why.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Just get
Uh,
places.
You said driving, so I know you said you started in Fayetteville and Square Circle Champions. That's a couple hour drive. What's the farthest you've had to travel since you started?
The most I've been so far is to West Virginia. So it was
Okay,
about a 5 hour drive from where I was.
that's a
So not
decent
terrible,
drive.
but
Not
like enough that it was a lot.
Yeah, to have to be there, compete, and depending on where you're at in the
Uh-huh.
card, and then having to drive
Yeah.
back if you done it all
Late
in
at
one.
night.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the mountains.
So, of course, other than having Earl Hebner and then Victoria with you in the ring for your first match, what was the most memorable moment from your career, whether win, backstage interaction, or some fan interactions you've had in the past 2 years?
Um, it'll I'd probably have to say when I won, it wasn't my first title, it was my second one. But it was one that like really felt earned. It was a company that I had started reffing at this company before I debuted. I did a little bit of
Hmm.
refereeing. So I started there as a ref. Once I debuted, they like let me come in and start wrestling there. Um, and so I was their inaugural women's champ. I won off of a street fight, which is my first like not regular match,
Hmm.
I guess, against Mila Johnson. So, and then like three of the people who were like the most influential in like helping me train and get me ready were all there for it. So it was probably that day that probably was my biggest like mean the most moment so far.
Yeah. You said it was a street fight,
Hmm.
so ain't no DQ, no count out, everything goes. Yeah.
Yep.
I bet that was a good match, especially for that being your first championship.
Yeah.
So, if you had any advice for someone wanting to get into wrestling in general, what would that advice be to them?
The biggest advice I always tell people is like the first step's the hardest. If you can make that first step, you're good. Like if you can convince yourself, okay, I found this school, I want to start training, just go. Don't even like give yourself an option, just go. Go check it out, see what you think, just get started. Getting started is always the hardest part.
Getting started, getting your foot in the door per se, and
Yeah,
just wanting to
taking
do
that
it.
first step. Yeah.
Yeah. So, with that, do you have anything that's coming up here in a few months that you got planned? And then upcoming events, projects.
Yeah, so I have a couple shows coming up start of the year in January. First weekend I'll be in Southern Pines, North Carolina at Alternative Combat Wrestling. Um, After that, I'll be in Fayetteville, North Carolina for Next Level Pro Wrestling. And then I think next is Foothills in King, North Carolina. So January's already getting booked up.
Yeah.
So a lot of different events. As far as personal projects, I've got some new gear coming in that I'm very excited about. I just got some new t-shirts and things done with like I have a pink. So one thing you'll notice about a lot of my promos and stuff, I'll have what Starbucks has called a pink drink.
Mm-hmm.
It's been kind
Yeah.
of a staple for me. So I just got a t-shirt design made with pink drinks on them that I'll be
Okay.
bringing around soon. So really excited about that too.
Now, when you talk about your gear, do you make your own gear or do you have it custom made?
No, order it custom made. I wish I had the talent to make my own gear.
Yeah, I didn't know. I know some people, they
Uh-huh.
try, so I didn't know.
Yeah, no, I buy it.
Now, in January, are you going to be having any title defenses that we should be looking out for?
Title defenses? No, not that I know of. I don't know if Squared Circle has a date yet for their next show.
Hmm.
So I don't know when I'll be defending that title again. So no, not that I know of right now.
Um, so I was actually at your Square Circle Championship match this past, I think it was like 3 weeks now, I think, maybe two
Two,
weeks.
two, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I seen you do, I'm not sure if it was your finisher or not, but you do like a series of what looks like Haluna kicks. Is that something you also try? Like, is your character in the ring? Is that what your finisher is?
No, my finish is actually a curb stomp. So I've
A
been using
curve
for a
stomp.
finish usually. Yeah.
Okay.
But I do use the whole luva and a face wash a lot in the corner. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't
There's some,
sure because I
yeah.
know you had in the match. Of course, you won off of the roll up, so I
Yeah.
didn't know if the Haluna was that finisher or not.
Yeah. No, no. It's just kind of a signature thing, I guess.
Okay. Okay. Good old fashioned curve stomp. Those are
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to thank you, CC, for sitting down with us today. Do you have anything else that you have coming up? Like I know we talked about January and all that. Is there anything else special to you that is coming up?
Uh, not necessarily, I
Like
guess.
like match wise, I guess know the street fight was a big one for you.
Yeah, yeah. The first weekend of January is a women's gauntlet match, so it's the first time
Okay.
we'll be a part of something like that. So that's pretty cool.
Okay.
I am excited for that. Um, I think other than that, they're just kind of I think I have a handicap match and coming up in January too. But other than that, there's just kind of regular matches going on.
Okay. Well, I'll most definitely be on the lookout for those as well.
Yeah.
Cause a women's gauntlet match those are always very interesting as well.
Yeah, yeah, that should be fun. A lot of good talent in that match, so I'm excited for that.
All right, CC. Well, do want to again say thank you again for taking time out of your schedule to sit down with us today on the Wrestling with the Kraken podcast. And I do hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.